The trial of a woman connected to the death of 4 people in Cedar County gets her day in court starting today. The case against Carrie Jones is being held in Madison County with jury selection set to start this morning. Jones faces 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 other felony charges. She and her husband were charged with a quadruple homicide case in the town of Laurel. Jason Jones was previously convicted of all 4 murders. During a preliminary hearing, prosecutors alleged that Carrie Jones wasn't present for the murders, but say she did provide aid to her husband after the killings by tending to his wounds and disposing of his burned clothes. The state made a request to have 6 pieces of evidence released in trial against Jason for potential use in another trial, and that was granted earlier this month. A 22-year-old man has died after a shooting in northwest Omaha Saturday night. We don't have many details still, but according to the Omaha Police Department, officers were called to an area of a business park and a new apartment complex in northwest Omaha for a report of a shooting shortly after 11 p.m. Sir London Houston Earl Bonner had already been rushed to Methodist Hospital by the time authorities arrived. He was eventually declared dead at the hospital. Our news partners WOWT saw a large police presence at the hospital. Omaha police are looking for leads as the investigation is ongoing. They urge anyone with details to contact authorities. More than 3.5 years after a murder in Kearney, the man convicted of the crime will be sentenced. Police say Romeo Chambers, who was 24 at the time, killed Jared Shinpaw in January 2022. Chambers was on the run for nearly 2 years after the shooting before being arrested in Arizona. The now 28-year-old pleaded no contest to manslaughter in February, only to attempt to withdraw his plea a month later. A judge denied his request. He faces the no contest plea to 3 different felonies. Each count could carry a maximum of 20 years in prison. 4 others have long been convicted and sentenced in connection to the case. Oh, there's some speeding citations that can be a little bit of everyday type of action for police officers, but this certainly was not on Interstate 80 recently. A person was pulled over in York County driving 86 miles per hour, far from out of the ordinary for anyone who's spent time on I-80 and had cars whiz by. This was a little different though, as the individual was also ticketed for watching a video while driving 11 plus miles per hour over the speed limit. They had Game of Thrones playing on their phone and it was resting on the dashboard. The initial fines are $175 for speeding and watching. All people are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Funny Money has been making appearances in Valentine recently. The Valentine Police Department reports $200 in 20s brought to the office on Friday. While it does look real from a distance, it does show the words "copy money" in 2 different locations quite clearly at the top left and top right. Valentine authorities are not saying who brought the money to them, when, or how it was discovered. They do use it as a reminder to anyone accepting cash to take a quick look for anything suspicious. The Heartland Event Center in Grand Island hosted its first ever Shop and Skate vendor show over the weekend. Taking it back in time with disco lights and music from the 70s, bringing back the days of roller skates and rollerblades to Grand Island on the floor of the iHusen Arena. Not only were the skates hitting the surface down low, they were selling crafts and more on the concourse. The Heartland Event Center is looking to draw an interest in a new way to experience a day of shopping, and perhaps with this heat, it couldn't have been a better time to be indoors. The Shop and Skate show ended at 4 o'clock yesterday. Depending on how it did over the weekend, there's a chance the city laces it up again in the future. The season is on the horizon, and we'll soon be hearing from Nebraska Volleyball's top names. Head coach Danny Busboom Kelly, senior Rebecca Alec, and junior Harper Murray will participate in the 4th annual Big Ten Volleyball Media Days today at Big Ten Network headquarters in Chicago. Nebraska will be live in studio on Big Ten Network for 20 minutes starting at 2:37. The Huskers will hold their official press conference beginning at 3:27, which will be streamed live on Big Ten Plus. A military family's home crisis in Kearney has sparked an outpouring of support from their community and fellow service members. News Channel Nebraska's Peter Rice has the story.
What started as a strange noise in the attic ultimately turned into something that no one expected.
Cut out about a 10-inch by 10-inch square in the ceiling, and when I pulled it down, the amount of droppings and feces that came out was overwhelming, to say the least. My wife walked in the room and I told her just go grab the respirators, so I didn't want any health issues or anything like that. I started tearing into stuff.
While Jordan Mietinen was serving overseas, a silent infestation was growing in his family's home. Colonies of bats and wasps had likely been nesting there for more than a decade, and they left behind toxic droppings and extensive damage.
I sat on the couch and my wife just sat on the staircase, and I think we both just kind of stared at the wall, and my wife broke down, and I didn't even know how to tell her it was going to be okay, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how bad the problem was.
The house became unlivable. For 2 weeks, Jordan, his wife, and kids bounced between relatives' homes and hotel rooms. But help arrived fast. More than a dozen National Guard brothers showed up from across the state this weekend to surprise Jordan by helping him clean out the infestation and rebuild.
It's just overwhelming. With like, my heart's full, and I would do anything for these guys. They're my family. I've been in the National Guard for 20 years, a little over 20 years. I could have retired. These guys are the reason I stay in. They're it.
Friends surprised the family by starting a GoFundMe page to help cover the nearly $30,000 in repair costs. Jordan's civilian employer of Complete Roofing helped donate supplies, food, and trailers to support the weekend-long cleanup effort.
It's nothing for these guys to come out here, and I do the same, but it's me, so I don't I don't want them to do it, kind of thing. So, but I'm very grateful for it.
The family says they're overwhelmed with gratitude that their military family showed up to answer the call, even when their home front became the front line. From Kearney, Peter Rice, News Channel Nebraska.
Whether it's family vacations taking people out of Nebraska for the month, the kids taking up attention for parents with school being out, or finding new avenues for entertainment, the casino industry has taken its first step back in gaming tax for the first time since February. While it was still the third highest month on record for gaming tax across the board, all 4 of Nebraska's casinos brought in fewer tax dollars for the month of June than the previous month. Lincoln, Grand Island, and Columbus each had a lower haul than May or April, while Omaha did see a higher number. The casino gaming tax went down for the first time since the move from January to February, and with it being 3 days shorter, the decrease could have been made up for since it was less than $200,000 combined. The 4 gambling shops added $2.9 million to the property tax credit cash fund in June, now sitting at almost $18 million. In total, the gaming tax exceeds $24 million through the midway point of this year. Omaha was in the national spotlight on June 10th as Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents raided the Glen Valley Foods meatpacking plant. They detained more than 70 people who are accused of working illegally in the United States. News Channel Nebraska's Dave Greek spoke with Joshua Shimkus of the Flatwater Free Press following the outlet's in-depth article on the E-Verify process and how, even while following it to a T, the plant was not protected from the raid.
E-Verify seems like a simple process, although I think we're learning that there's many layers to this. Joshua Shimkus joins us. Joshua, tell me a little bit about what you found in your reporting for E-Verify.
It is sort of another layer to the I-9 process. The I-9 form is something that everybody fills out when they start a new job. If they seem valid to the hiring manager, then you're all set. With the E-Verify process, it's, again, another step to it, essentially, where they compare those online through an online government system to documents maintained by the federal government.
I looked at the Social Security Administration website. There are hundreds of millions of Social Security numbers available. At Glen Valley Foods, we had an allegation of more than 70 people having stolen identities. How can we verify these identities are stolen? How can we understand how potentially this many people were able to coordinate such an effort where they all had a stolen identity and were able to enter in the American workforce?
Yeah, so I think one of the most interesting things that I learned during this reporting process and working on the story was that there really is not, you'll hear in conversations and, see on Facebook comments and stuff about holding businesses accountable. But there really isn't a whole lot that businesses can do to verify beyond the systems that are in place. Most of these businesses, they are using the system, as instructed. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
I saw on Reddit somebody was saying we need to prosecute Glen Valley Foods. If we went down that path of prosecuting the people who went through the legal steps the way they're supposed to, how many businesses in Nebraska would be susceptible to prosecution for this kind of an act when in all intents and purposes, they're following the rules?
If the system doesn't work in a way that helps them track workers that are working without authorization, if the system doesn't let them do that, then how can you hold them accountable?
Do we have a full grasp, because it didn't sound like we did, of how many immigrants are working and supplying much needed workforce to the state, especially in certain jobs at the dairies, at the meat processing plants, at the poultry plants, etc.?
Senator Kauth, who I spoke with, part of her bill to make E-Verify mandatory was to get a better sense of how many workers are working in the state illegally. If it became mandatory, look at industries that maybe had even more trouble finding workers, or had a bunch of people that stopped showing up to work after this became mandatory, to kind of get a sense of the industries that are most affected.
You can read the story for yourself at Flatwater Free Press. Joshua Shimkus, thanks for the time, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
It's the dog days of summer still, but fall camp has arrived for the Nebraska football team. Camp starts for most teams on August 1st, but the Huskers get going a little early because their opening game against Cincinnati is on a Thursday. The players and coaches moved into the dorms at Selleck Hall yesterday and will stay there for the first week of camp. Practice starts this morning. Nebraska is picked to finish 8th in the conference, according to the Big Ten Media preseason poll. This will be Nebraska's third season under head coach Matt Rule.